You know, wrestling fans, when we think about the Survivor Series, we think about teams of 4 or 5 competing to see just who will survive. We think about the Thanksgiving night, the Thanksgiving Eve, the Thanksgiving week tradition only on pay-per-view, only on the WWE network. Right, wrestling fans? We think about the second oldest pay-per-view in WWE history. When we think about the Survivor Series, we think about a concept of pay-per-view that WWE created that had such promise, that had such prestige to it, that got us intrigued for so many years. It was that one pay-per-view where, quite frankly, we didn't always see the WWE Championship on the line. All the other pay-per-views, it was almost a guaranteed. We saw the WWE Championship or the Intercontinental Championship or Tag Team Championships on the line. That pay-per-view, we did not. We saw rivalries, banging heads that led to title matches later on down the road. Case in point, perfect example, a tremendous rivalry, The Undertaker versus Yokozuna, led to that casket match at the Royal Rumble 1994, where The Undertaker was stuffed into the casket and then came up through the Titantron screen at the Royal Rumble, where he vowed he would never rest in peace. That all built from the Survivor Series. Now, when we think about the Survivor Series also, you think about a concept that WWE took from that type of stuff that made us so intrigued to flounder. They didn't care about it anymore. Not really. They instead took the Survivor Series and said, you know what? It's our least important pay-per-view out of the main 4 that we created. So we're just going to stick a big marquee matchup on it. And that's it. That's how we're going to draw people. The rest of the matches aren't going to mean squat. Case in point, Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. That is what drew that match, that pay-per-view. Seriously. Everything else on that didn't really matter. I don't care if there was championships on the line or not. The year before, the biggest thing that drew that was The Undertaker's 25th anniversary. They go from there, and we have brand supremacy, brand warfare, the entire show. So, Survivor Series has been pretty much drowning for quite some time. But we're going to be counting down over the next several weeks to the 32nd annual Survivor Series. Because quite frankly, it is one of my favorite pay-per-views out of the year, no matter what WWE has done to it. It has always been one of my favorite pay-per-views that WWE has ever produced. Tremendous concept. Teams of 4 or 5 competing. one or two championship matches. We saw The Undertaker's first WWE championship come to be at the Survivor Series. We saw a tremendous, fantastic tag team encounter where Randy Orton, at the very end of it, laid waste to the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, back in 2005 at the Survivor Series. So we have seen a lot of tremendous action at Survivor Series. The WWE just kind of has us forget about. So we're going to be counting down to the 32nd annual Survivor Series right here on the channel. Hope you tune into it. And if you missed any of my other Survivor Series reviews, they are live on the channel right now. But we're on to kick off, counting down to it right here today with the 2014 Survivor Series. Now, this Survivor Series, St. Louis, Missouri, Scott Trade Center, Vince McMahon stated at the very beginning of this pay-per-view, it is a Survivor Series you will never, ever forget. Now, quite frankly, throughout this entire show, I was there for this one. And quite frankly, throughout this entire show, if what happened at the end didn't happen, this would be a forgettable Survivor Series. Here, as of late, WWE has the Survivor Series play as a building point for what's going to happen at WrestleMania. Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, a match that I'm going to be talking about here in just a little bit, amongst other things. We didn't get that built because from the Survivor Series onto WrestleMania, but Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family taking on the Brothers of Destruction, you could say kind of built off of WrestleMania. The Undertaker took on Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania in 2015, and then that same year, Brothers of Destruction versus the Wyatt family. So you kind of get the trend here. Now, the very beginning of this pay-per-view, we saw Los Matadores versus the Miz and Mizdow versus the Usos versus Star and Goldust. The first thing that came to my mind when I saw this contest was Mizdow and Star and Goldust. Look, Los Matadores, we all know who they are. This is one of the whole Epico and Primo gimmicks before they became Epico and Primo again. Okay? And quite frankly, at least in this gimmick, they weren't off selling timeshares. Okay? But it was a pretty good matchup. Quite frankly, Miz and Mizdow, it's really a shame that Damien Mizdow was treated the way he was. It's really a shame because look how entertaining he was in this match. Everything the Miz did on the outside, inside the squared circle, Damien Mizdow was doing it on the outside. There was a time in this match, I do believe the Miz had a back body drop. What did Damien Mizdow do? He back body dropped himself right inside the squared circle. I mean, it was great stuff. Fantastic stuff. And then WWE eventually wasted away again right out of the company. Damien Sandow. But, hey, look, Miz and Mizdow win the tag team champions at the Survivor Series this year. And Mizdow picks up the victory. Didn't get any action, but in the matchup, because, of course, they were going to try to keep him out of the match. WWE didn't want him to get any real high fan reaction here because how over he was getting, but, whatever. As far as the Usos is concerned in this, they still had their babyface paint, and they're still coming out into the Samoan heritage music and all that stuff. Look, if they're going to be baby faces, and this goes for how they are now, but if they're going to be baby faces, they should go like they were back then. If they're going to be like they are now, and look how they are now, they need to be heels. Stop with this baby face stuff, how they are on SmackDown right now. Keep them heels. Okay? But they put on a good contest too, as they always do, because they are a really good tag team. And as far as Star and Goldust is concerned, Stardust, a.k.a. Cody Rhodes, he's doing some tremendous work down in Independence right now. But it really showed you, and it really spoke volume. Why didn't WWE just pull the trigger and let him go back to Cody Rhodes? I mean, seriously. How much better would WWE be right now if he was Cody Rhodes in the company? Guaranteed they would be better. Guaranteed there would be a lot more people happier with the company right now. But Stardust, Goldust, very good dynamic right here. It was before Stardust really started acting just horrible, his character. Because there was a time when he was tag team with Goldust where they gelled very well. But when they had their own rivalry, I didn't think much of it. Alicia Fox, Naomi, Natalya, and Emma took on Paige, Cameron, Summer Rae, and Layla. Clean sweep. Absolute clean sweep. Paige, Cameron, Summer Rae, and Layla, gone. They did not eliminate anybody in this Survivor Series matchup. Alicia Fox, Naomi, Natalya, and Emma victorious at the Survivor Series. Dean Ambrose versus Bray Wyatt, the Eater of Worlds. Now, I like what they did here. Number one, Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose had good chemistry in their rivalry back then. They did. They had good chemistry. They gelled very well inside the squared circle. I enjoyed it very, very much back then. And WWE did a tremendous job building towards their TLC matchup at TLC next month. Because Dean Ambrose put Bray Wyatt right through a steel chair with dirty deeds, put him through a table, ladder on top of a ladder, standing on there, and then piled chairs on top of him, amongst other things. It was a good sight. It was a good build for the upcoming pay-per-view. Very hardcore-esque, hard-nosed hitting matchup between these two. And it was a very good sight to see. And it was a break between the tag team contest that we saw throughout the night. But Dean Ambrose, victorious. Adam Rose and the Bunny versus Heath Slater and Titus Worldwide. This was before we had Titus Worldwide. It was when he was just Titus O'Neil. Adam Rose and the Bunny. This was when the Bunny was outshining Adam Rose. This was when everybody was outshining Adam Rose, pretty much, that was in his group, right? And this came to be because backstage, Adam Rose and the Bunny was playing with the action figures or whatever, and Adam Rose wanted to win and wanted the Bunny to just lay down for him. And the Bunny instead beat Adam Rose, and Adam Rose started acting like a big baby, and Heath Slater and Titus O'Neil came, and they got into it, and then all of a sudden, tag team matches set up. Well, the tag team match, absolutely worthless. Now, I'm going to be just completely honest with you. It meant nothing. It was dumb. Adam Rose and the Bunny victorious. More heat between Adam Rose and the Bunny. As we all know, this eventually led to Adam Rose turning heel on the Bunny, which the Bunny was getting completely over with the crowd. So, I mean, it helped Adam Rose. At the same time, it's not like anybody cared either. Because Adam Rose was just one of those characters that he came up to the main roster, and it was kind of hard to watch, honestly. Because nobody really got into it. Nikki Bella versus AJ Lee. Divas Championship. Divas Championship. A title that nobody really cares about. And when I say nobody, I mean the wrestling fans. Okay? A lot of wrestling fans don't really care about this title. If you mention Divas Championship, you hear a lot of people moan, groan, gripe, complain, saying the title was worthless, saying it doesn't need to be mentioned anymore. Nobody that's held it needs to talk about it anymore. Blah, 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 blah. Right? This rivalry, this match was short, sweet, to the point, where Brie Bella kissed AJ Lee, shoved AJ right into Nikki, forearm right to the face, rack attack, boom. 1, 2, 3, new Divas champion, and we got the longest Divas champion of all time in Nikki Bella. That is pretty much how this went. am I going to say a whole lot about this contest, about Nikki Bella's title reign, about anything of that nature? No. I honestly liked AJ Lee's title reign more than I did Nikki Bella's. Not saying that Nikki Bella's title reign was anything bad. I mean, I wish that Brie and Nikki would have had more friction there throughout her title reign. Wish they didn't. But whatever the case, Nikki Bella victorious. And finally, Team Authority versus Team John Cena. Now, this contest, this is the one thing that sold the Survivor Series that year. Remember telling you that WWE went to that one selling point, that one match that sold the Survivor Series? This is it. Well, Team Authority, you know, they had people like Mark Henry, Kane, Luke Harper, Rusev, and Seth Rollins. Pretty impressive team. And John Cena, he had Eric Rowan, The Big Show, Dolph Ziggler, and Ryback. Now, this match came to be because Vince McMahon said, what if we have this? Team Authority versus Team Cena. And if Team Authority loses, they will no longer be in power. Now, we all know what this was meant for. To ride the Authority off television for the holidays. Simple as that. Because later on, the next month, the Authority came back. When Seth Rollins put his hand and his foot on Edge's head and was going to do the curb stomp. And that's when John Cena brought the Authority back. Because John Cena was the only one that could bring the Authority back. But in this contest, we saw The Big Show turn heel for the millionth time. We saw Mark Henry. Excuse me. We saw Mark Henry get absolutely knocked out just like that. Very, very quickly. And Dolph Ziggler, you know, I'll just say this. He beat Kane, Luke Harper, and Seth Rollins. Tremendous, fantastic wrestling that he put on in this contest. If he would wrestle like that all the time now, fantastic. And he is wrestling a lot better, like such fire and passion since he's been with Drew McIntyre. But the way he was in this, it really goes to show you how much WWE has wasted Dolph Ziggler away. Because that would have been such a great way to capitalize and boost Dolph Ziggler to the moon, with him being the sole survivor in this match. Now, as I told you, there was a big point in this match that led to WrestleMania. Some of you know what this is. Sting's in-ring WWE debut comes down to the ring, and Scorpion death drops Triple H, because Triple H was absolutely destroying, wiping out Dolph Ziggler, wiping out the referees. What's Sting do? Wipes out Triple H, covers Seth Rollins, puts Dolph Ziggler over Seth Rollins. 1, 2, 3. The Authority is gone until the next month when John Cena brings him back. But overall, this pay-per-view, if Sting hadn't made, his in-ring debut coming in and doing that and then leaving, the pay-per-view wouldn't have been one to remember. It would have been just, But you all let me know what you're thinking in the comments below. Tell me if you think this pay-per-view was something to remember, spectacular. Tell me which pay-per-view you would like me to do next in the comments below. Leave a like, share, subscribe, and everything else. Facebook, Twitter, at 2007 Webby. And until I see you again, this is Webby, and I'll catch you on the other side. Talk to you later.